Child, I don't even know. Like at first I thought I didn't really, but I was like, maybe they just don't know that they are incompetent. But like even they are like, wait a minute, these people are incompetent. The New York Times got a whole ass spread talking about the nominees and listing their utter lack of qualifications. What are you all at Moms Rising making of this effort to stack the government with people who appear to be have only whiteness as their primary qualification? Certainly not actual qualifications.
Right. Their whiteness or their support thereof, right? Of whiteness.
Mm.
Um,
Hey,
what
Clarence.
we've been looking at, especially so that we can educate and organize our parents, are the combinations of people. Like if you look at each one of these nominations in isolation, you just be like, okay, it's a clown car. It's the land of misfit toys. It's like, like it just seems random, unqualified, like, oh, someone's going to be head of our healthcare that isn't a doctor and doesn't have a public health
Mhm.
degree. Like, it can seem
Mm.
like very, very abstract. But when you look at the combinations of people and you match that up with the plans in Project 2025,
Girl.
it scarily makes sense, right? It scarily makes sense. When you look at the appointment of someone like Russell Vought, who's one of the
Mhm.
architects of Project 2025. Remember that
Mm.
Trump tried to distance himself from Project 2025, but now he makes the person that's over the
Uh-huh.
Office of Management and Budget, is a drafter, is an architect, is a leader of Project 2025, and then put somebody who is his homegirl, Linda McMahon, over the Department of Education. And we know that within Project 2025, it's about gutting the Department of Education. You see what I'm saying? Like it all starts to come
Yeah.
together. It all starts to make sense in terms of this time in this second Trump administration. You have someone who now is kind of prepared, right, to take action on
Mm.
all these wild notions. And so I think we should really, really pay attention, not just to, oh, this person's overqualified, this is person overqualified, but you put a banking exec in charge of Social Security,
Oh my God.
right?
Mm.
Like I need
Oh
people to
my
really kind
God.
of listen to these pieces and understand that then our main avenue that we have to fight these, right, are our voting rights, our civic engagement, what we're going to do in the midterm elections, what we're going to do in the next general election. But then who's appointed to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, right? Harmeet
Mm.
Dillon is an avid conservative against all things civil rights, DEI, all the
Yep.
things, right? Is
Yep.
literally
And a
coming
woman of color. Woman of
against,
we heard the name, but
oh,
also a woman of color.
a woman, a brown woman coming in to dismantle civil rights. So on one hand, there's someone there to tie your hand behind your back, and then there's all these other things going on. So I want people to be very clear about the combination that these folks are.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to talk about is the healthcare. We can dig into each one of them, but when you put together Kennedy and Oz, right?
Mm.
So
Oh, I
over
forgot about Oz. Oh my
right? Over health and human services. No medical degree, no public health degree, right? So you have to think about what's then his agenda there, what is his assignment there. And then you have Dr. Oz, right, over Medicaid and Medicare, which provides coverage to 150 million people get Medicaid and
God.
Medicare. It also
Mm.
sets the prices that doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies can charge. Okay, y'all put it all together.
Right, right. And what's been really interesting to me is they've long talked about this quote unquote deep state, right? The right wing. If you go and watch any of their media, that's something that really drives them. And the they want limited government, unless they're talking about your uterus, in which case they want to be all up it. They want the biggest government possible, bigger than
Right.
what can fit in your uterus. But they basically have put people in charge of agencies that those people want to dismantle, or people whose business interests benefit from from the dismantling of government. So if I'm a filthy rich billionaire and I grew up, let's say, I don't know, in an apartheid sort of government, and I believe in the white supremacist values of apartheid, and I make a whole lot of money, and I also happen to be getting investigated by a whole lot of governmental agencies, I'm not going to want those agencies to have the power to investigate me. So I would be happy if those agencies were dismantled. If I'm somebody who benefits from the ending of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, I am going to want to make sure that I, someone who benefits from dismantling that agency, which was solely set up to benefit we the people who are consumers, to set up to benefit us. If I benefit from taking advantage of consumers, well then I'm not going to want that agency to exist. They are acting, you know what? I may need to make an amendment to my analysis of WEI, because there is another element of this, which is that they are there to destroy that which does not cause them benefit. And Monifa, whether it's the environment, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, literally everything that we rely upon the government to provide, they are positioning people to be in place to destroy the entire thing. Am I seeing this wrong? Is this something else? Like, is this like, am I playing checkers while they doing chess? Because I must be missing something.
And told on themselves. Like when you read the
Girl.
plans going into the election,
Girl.
where it was clear as day, these appointments match up, it's not just isolated straggler, incompetent people, it's a coalition of Project 2025. Like, please
Hmm.
see what it is for what it is. And that we need coalition, right? I can't, everywhere I go, I tell people, I know I've been saying it, you've known me for 20 years. I'm like, y'all grassroots organizing. Do you belong to something? Are you in your tenant association? Are you in your parent
Ooh.
association? Are you active in your union? Like, this engagement that we have, a lot of times that's in social media, you may be an influencer, but do you belong to things? I know the things you belong to, the things I belong to. We
Mm.
have to build power, because what they're doing is they're amassing power by bringing together this coalition of the conservative. They don't care how strange, wild, or out of off the chain the concept is. Is it going to help push their agenda forward? They're like, we're going to work together, and that's what we have in these presidential appointees.
You said something there, and I was going to go in one direction, but now I'm feeling the spurt take us to another space. You said, do you belong to things? Not are you an influencer? Not can you just spout off your opinions, but do you belong to things? Are you a part of building power? I don't know. I know typically you're only here for like a good half an hour, but I'm hoping we can squeeze a little bit more time in, because and if not, we're going to have you come back just to talk about this topic. What do you mean when you say build power, and connect that to, are you a part of things? Do you belong to things? Can you tease out those connections for us?
Yes, absolutely. Some of the things that were attacked leading into this present era that we're in are things like our labor unions, right? Our student
Hmm.
associations are banned. And we have to think about, like, why this attack on organizations, right? Why have people come in and disrupt parent associations, school boards, kind of going in and pulling apart the existing membership and putting in place, kind of like propped up fake, these paper tigers of figures that are advancing things like book bans, but not like representing parents. It's because the way that you build power is by either bringing together people or bringing together resources, right? And
Hmm.
so some of the biggest movements in the history of the planet are people's movements. And in order for us to have a people's movement, I have to not only belong to something, but I'm accountable to a base, right, Lurie? Your
Ooh.
organization, you can't just go say, do whatever. You're accountable to a group of people, and you have to move forward collectively, right? That's
Hmm.
power. And sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to do all that. But then when it gets time to mobilize folks into saying, I'm speaking for 10,000 people, 100,000 people, a million people, you're able to mobilize those people because you've been in community and you've been accountable to those folks. You can't do it if you have a million followers on Instagram. You may get a bunch of clicks on it, but are they going to turn out in the streets? Is it going to translate
Ooh.
to people showing up to hearings and fighting back these components of Project 2025? No, because they don't know you. We got to go back to the brass tacks meetings in houses and in community centers, linking up with our religious and faith-based institutions. You may not be in one of those, but some of you are. Activate those spaces. these are our bases of power.